All right, eighth
Okay,
grade.
eighth grade.
We're
Today
going
we're
to
going to
learn a
learn
little bit
something
of
about the
something today about
Archdiocese of
the
Philadelphia. I'm going to give
Archdiocese
you a
of
brief introduction
Philadelphia.
to some important events and to the bishops and archbishops who have led our diocese. So the first diocese in Philadelphia was established by Pope Pius VII in April of 1808. Um, this picture is of Pope Pius VII. And 1808, we're still a fairly new country, but the Catholic community in Philadelphia and in other big cities is growing. And this Pope decides to grant a diocese in the city of Philadelphia. It was, as they say, raised to the dignity of an archdiocese on February 12th of 1875. That's just a fancy way of saying that we were big enough to warrant the status of being an archdiocese and to get an archbishop instead of a lowly bishop, I guess. The seat of the archbishop is called the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul, fancy way of saying the main church in the city of Philadelphia. Cathedral, as you may remember, is a word that means chair. So it's literally where the chair of our archbishop is. This is also the archbishop's local diocese where he says Mass. Construction of the basilica began in 1846. And you can see the exterior of the building doesn't seem very impressive. It's this kind of drab brown building, but inside is a different story. It's a beautiful building. There's really not a bad view from the inside of the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul. This is a picture of Archbishop Chaput incensing the tomb of Catherine Drexel, St. Catherine Drexel, who was, as you know, recently moved to the basilica. Okay, in the United States, an important event in around 1808, 1809 was Elizabeth Ann Seton, one of the early American saints. She established the first Catholic school in America for girls and the first American religious community for women, as you might remember, called the Sisters of Charity. Another important building in our archdiocese is St. Charles Borromeo Seminary. It was established in 1839. And that's a picture of the seminary. As you know, a seminary is a place a school where priests are educated to be priests. So now we're going to take a look at some of the names that should sound familiar to you, the leading bishops, archbishops, and cardinals of the Philadelphia Archdiocese. So we start with Michael Egan. He began his time in Philadelphia in 1810. He was the first bishop of the Diocese of Philadelphia. He was followed by Henry Conwell in 1830 and Francis Kenrick in 1842. Number 4 on the list is John Newman, and everyone is very familiar with St. John Newman. He, by most accounts, was not thrilled to get the post as the Bishop of Philadelphia, but was obedient to the Pope and did the job very well, so much so that the city still honors him very much today, and there is a shrine that bears his name, and he's entombed here in Philadelphia. James Wood in 1860, and the pictures at the bottom are in order, so you can see Egan, Conwell, Kenrick, Newman, and Wood. Patrick John Ryan is a name that you should be familiar with. He began his time as Bishop of Philadelphia in 1883, as Archbishop, because you know him as Archbishop Ryan. And if these names all sound familiar to you, Egan, Conwell, Kenrick, Ryan, Doherty, because they are the names of our local high schools. Number 7 is Edmund Prendergast in 1911, Cardinal Doherty in 1918, and Cardinal O'Hara in 1951. Coming into a more current era is Cardinal John Kroll in 1961. So Cardinal Kroll would have been the cardinal here in Philadelphia during the Second Vatican Council. He also happens to be the cardinal who confirmed me. Cardinal Bevilacqua in 1988, Cardinal Regali in 2003, and the one that you're most familiar with would be Charles Chaput in 2011. There's Chaput again, because I forgot to take his picture out of the previous one. And as you know, very recently in February of 2020, Philadelphia installed Nelson Perez as our 14th leading bishop, and he is an Archbishop of Philadelphia. So you guys are going to be doing a little research on these gentlemen who led our fair archdiocese, and I hope this was a good introduction for you.